Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad that you found us here on YouTube and have joined our tribe of survivors. And today I want to touch on a topic I haven't talked about in a while, and that is the way a narcissist is towards your family and your friends. And I'm going to try and stay focused on this, on just those two, because we all know a narcissist doesn't have friends, or very few, or they're very fake or short-lived or discarded very fast. So I will kind of just talk really about your family and your friends, and maybe in another subject I'll touch more on, the perceived friends that a narcissist can have. So if you remember at the very beginning of the love bombing stage, your ex, hopefully ex, was very involved. The narcissist is very involved to win everybody over, and they look like Prince Charming, like the perfect boyfriend or girlfriend, and so caring and giving, and your family is so happy that you found someone and you're so in love, and they show up to every event that you've got going on in your life. I mean, they will go to all your family dinners, they will go out with you and your friends, and socialize and be there. And this is during the love bombing stage, because they're love bombing your family and friends too at the very beginning. And you'll notice that stops, that they do not want to spend any time with your family because it is draining on them. Remember, I say a narcissist is like a car. They do not make fuel. They burn fuel. They need fuel. And relationships with family and friends is a give and take. And a car cannot ever, it doesn't matter what they do, they will never be able to make fuel. They can only burn it. And so they're not going to show up to any more of your family events because it's too draining on them. And remember, they're wearing a mask. And it's exhausting for them to wear that mask. They'll do it during the love bombing stage as an investment to win them over and win you over, to obtain the ultimate amount of fuel from every facet, okay? And that's what they're doing with your family at the very beginning. They're just doing that and showing up to dinners. Like my ex, he had huge food restrictions, but he still showed up to all the family dinners that we had at the very beginning, and all my going out with my friends. When a narcissist meets someone, and if you really pay attention, when they ask like what someone does for a living, they're actually assessing this person to see if they're a source of fuel. They'll see what their profession is. Say they're a veterinarian, and the narcissist will automatically think, well, I have pets. I'm going to keep this veterinarian on retainer. I'm going to keep them in my contacts because I might need them one day to help me with my pets. And that's the only reason why they would even have any kind of relationship with someone. But if the narcissist meets someone that has nothing to do with anything that they can provide in their lives, it doesn't matter how nice the person is, the narcissist is not going to pay any attention to them because they're not going to be a source of fuel. It's like they assess everyone they meet in your life, all your family and friends. They kind of give everyone a once over, and they'll start assessing who they can turn into either flying monkeys, who they can turn into a secondary fuel source, who they need to spend time with to almost love bomb them a little to make you more attached to them, like your parents. Like they will make themselves into Prince Charming or, the most amazing partner to your parents, only to win them over to get fuel from you. Now, what happens is, and you're going to notice this, as soon as the love bombing stage is coming to an end, is that they stop going to any event that involves your family or friends. They are not going to go to dinners at your parents' house. That is exhausting to them. They have to wear a mask, this exhausting heavy mask around your family, and so they're not going to do it. So all of a sudden the excuses begin about why they cannot hang out with your family or go to events with your family. And then if you have something going on with your friends, they act like it's exhausting to them. They act like they're like doing you a favor almost if they have to go to something that doesn't involve them. I mean, that's what narcissists are doing, and you can see it. And the very first time that this happened to me, looking back on it, it was screaming bells and whistles to me, and I should have been more in tune to it. Like, my brother was getting married and he was going out of town. His wedding was out of town, like 2.5 hour drive out of town. And so this was a big event. I mean, really big event in my family, him getting married. And so I was getting ready for it for a long time. Now, the night before the wedding is the dinner, and I'm ready to go. And I'm like, we have to drive and we have to make it to the dinner, and we're late. And my ex he was busy doing stuff, and it's almost like he was stalling. Like, he acted like he was too busy almost to go to this, and other things are really important. And it was just like, we were really late. And when we finally got on the road, he said he had to stop. And I'm like, stop for what? And he goes, well, I need to buy some clothes and a tie. I'm like, and I just remember, like, what? Like, it meant such nothingness to him. And he was almost limping into this event, and he just didn't care. And he almost acted like he was doing me a favor by having to go to my brother's wedding. And we were so late, and I remember being just really, for the first time with him, this is the very first time I was really upset with him. And really, by the time we stopped and bought him clothes and we missed the dinner completely. It was at the very end of the night. It was like half an hour before everyone dispersed to go back to their hotel room because the wedding was the next day. And so I had half an hour to really spend going around and apologizing to everybody for missing the dinner. And he did not care. My ex did not care at all. It was almost as if he had planned it so he didn't have to go to this dinner and get drained by everyone and have to pretend that he was interested in anyone's conversation that wasn't about him, or because this dinner and this thing is about someone else. It's about, it was about my brother and his fiance. It wasn't about him. So this was the last thing that he wanted to do. And it was very obvious. And even the next day at the actual wedding, he was so detached. Like, he acted as if he was bored. He wasn't having a good time. Like, he couldn't wait for it to be over just so he can go back to things that were important to him and his life and his career and his popularity and his social, It was very upsetting. The entire event was very upsetting. And that was the first time that I really noticed this trait about him. But I didn't tap into it completely. I brushed it off, but it was the very first huge warning sign about what my life was going to be like moving forward, now that the love bombing stage is over, about moving forward about what our social lives would be. And from then on, it drained and dwindled to nothing until it was just the two of us. I was so isolated. And if I went to any event, I would go alone because it was a waste of his time. It was draining on him. He would only do things and go to things where it was about him, or a place where he can talk about himself and get things from other people. And even with your friends, I mean, the very first Halloween that we had together, we went as a couple, we had matching costumes, and it was so much fun. And I love Halloween. And it was like, during the love bombing stage, this is where the narcissist is at, they're there for you. But I'll tell you what, the last Halloween that we had, I was all dressed up and he refused to get dressed up or go out with me. I'm like, well, I'm not going to this party alone, and I'm not going out alone, and I'm all dressed up. And he ended up coming out with me, but he was almost like this statue the entire evening. Like, he wasn't having a good time. He wasn't. Like, he thought that this was just all a waste. And what is he going to get out of any of this? Nothing. So he wasn't narcissists are not really about having fun. They're about getting fuel for survival, and that's all they care about. And so you are at the end isolated from your family and your friends because you are meant to just spend time with the narcissist, providing them with fuel. And you'll notice that the narcissist will never go to any more of your events unless they show up completely late, are disengaged with everybody that they have to talk to. And they will try to convince you that this is normal, that it's just their personality, that they don't like doing stuff like this, and I should let him be who he is, type thing, right? And that's not what it is. So if you see this warning sign, when you see the person that you're with start to make a lot of excuses for not spending time with any of your family or friends, or not even having friends of their own, like not engaging with anybody unless it's to get something out of them. That's why everyone in their life flees from them eventually, except for their main supply. That's why everyone in their life doesn't stick around. That's why they don't have this network of close, long-term friends that they've had for years. They have to cycle through them because all they do is drain everybody around them or discard anybody that doesn't provide them with fuel, right? And that includes you, but you're the long-term main supply. So you're going to see all these cycles, that they're going through. And if you start to see these behaviors, if you start to see the person that's in your life really disengage completely from everyone that you socialize with, and if they try to get you to disengage with your family and friends, this is a huge warning sign, and it means you need to get out of this relationship, because you're in a relationship with a narcissist, and there's no such thing as a relationship with a narcissist that ends well or lives happily ever after. You're just the main supply. They're keeping you around longer than anybody else because you're providing them with the most fuel. And when you're running out of fuel, that's when they start to devalue you the same way they devalued your family and your friends. There's no timeline for how long this takes. It really depends on how much fuel you're able to provide for them and how much they need. But you need to escape this. If this sounds familiar to you, you need to get out before you really, because what happens is your relationships with your friends and your family get severely damaged during this. And the narcissist can turn your family and friends into flying monkeys. They will get your family and friends on their side and make you the problem. And it's just, the whole thing just goes up in flames, and it's devastating. And this is the damage that narcissistic relationships do to a person. So you need to get out. Do whatever you can. Keep doing research on the behaviors of narcissists, and get as much information as you can to escape these, because they don't end well. There's no happy ending with a narcissist. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate all of you, and I am so glad that you found us here on YouTube. And we are all survivors post Narcissist.